Get in, go on, off you go. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Ross on Cars. I'm Ross Furlong and this is a full fat Range Rover P440e SE. It's in Portofino blue, it's got 22-inch alloys in the interior, and it's a very lovely thing, I have to say, particularly on a soggy day like this in sunny Kent. So I'm just going to take it out for a bit of a drive and give you my impressions of this thing. It's sort of in its natural habitat here, I feel, yeah, not spend too much time outside, I think is the key today. So let's have a closer look. Well, the interior of this Range Rover feels very business class. You certainly turn left when you get into this car. It feels like a Range Rover. It's got the old armrests here, and the seating position is very high up, but it's bang up to date. So it has a very modern screen here, which is just in the middle. It doesn't extend miles along the dashboard, which I think would have been wrong in a Range Rover. So, you know, it just feels like a very up-to-date Range Rover, which is what kind of what you want, isn't it? You don't want to lose that Range Roveriness, that kind of sense of wafting around. You're very high up. I noticed when I was driving yesterday that I feel like my driving position is higher than a transit van. I'm not quite sure whether that's true or not, but it does. You do feel very high up and very big. Though threading it through the London streets wasn't really a problem. Some people have said that it kind of shrinks around you, and I kind of get that. You don't start to sort of notice the size of it after a while. So yeah, waftability. The trick around here in these country roads. I mean, I drive along some very nasty, narrow, potholey, knackered roads. So I'm going to just take this along some of them and see how it fares. All right, so I'll start by saying something about the engine. I suppose it's 440 brake horsepower, this. 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Of course, you can't buy the P430 now. They've upgraded it to a P460, which is a bit faster. I think it's 5.5. But, you know, for a car like this big and that wafts along like this, 6 seconds is fine. Don't worry about that. We'll do 40 miles to the gallon if you've got a full charge on it. So it'll do 7. It's hybrid, plug-in hybrid. So it will do, on paper, 70 miles to the gallon. In practice, people think more like 50. But that makes it less of a gas guzzler. Without the electric, I think you're looking more like kind of low 20s. Yeah, I mean, it's built for these sorts of roads. So I'm going down some pretty narrow ones here. I hit some pretty big potholes earlier, and it just sucks them up. No problem at all. So it's a fairly soft suspension in a sense, but you need that in the country, you know. And then when I was wafting through London yesterday, you know, just crawling around really, 20 miles an hour, you can use just the electric for that, and you're just going very quietly. In fact, it's a very quiet car, and it's just, you know, very nice to drive. You do feel quite imperious in this. I mean, I've driven an XC90 quite a lot, similar size of car, I suppose. I've driven a Discovery 4 as well. But I haven't spent much time in Range Rovers. This Range Rover feels a bit like the daddy, you know. It's kind of like, feels like the sort of the ultimate 4x4, and yeah, very desirable as well. I kind of feel like I want one, and I know the stats on these, the finance figures on these are a bit scary, so let me just give you a feel for what it would cost to get into something like this. So this is a 73 plate. It's done 17,000 miles. There's one for sale at the moment, 103,000 from Harwood's. Then of course you've got APR on top of that, which is probably a bit nasty. Normally is on a second-hand car. If you bought it new, they're looking at the 460. You can't buy the 430 anymore. About 115, 117k I think I got on the configurator this morning. and you could lease it for about $1,200 a month, roughly, if you got a good deal. And the elephant in the room with these at the moment, of course, is the insurance. There was some crazy scare story about a couple that had a 6-year-old Range Rover in North London, and they were quoted, the Range Rover was worth 40,000, they were quoted 27,000 to insure it for the year. I mean, the things are right off at that point, but Land Rover have recently started offering insurance again through their own channels, and you can get some half reasonable. So for this car, for someone like me in their extremely late 40s, it would cost around £270, £280 a month to insure this, fully garaged, in my postcode, which is quite rural. I think the main problem you get is when you're in London. I think in London it's becoming a bit of a joke. But so on top of your 1,200 lease, you've got probably another 300 of insurance if you live somewhere like I do. So you're looking at about 1,500 a month before you've even put any petrol in it. So it's not a cheap car by any stretch of the imagination, but is it worth it? God, I think every day you got into this and went somewhere in it, it just makes you feel very special. Like I said earlier, it's you just feel like you're in business class, really. And I think it's a very handsome looking car. I think it's better looking than its predecessor, actually, in the flesh. It looked on the photos when it first came out, it looks a bit slab-sided, but I thought, when you see it in the flesh, it looks really nice, and I really like this Portofino blue, this dark blue. I'm not sure you can get quite this blue at the moment. It doesn't seem to have popped up on the configurator, but I'm sure you can get something pretty close to it. It has to be a special colour, though. They charge over £7,000 for a special colour, so I suppose colour match. So anyway, yeah. So here I go. I'm kind of wafting along. Actually, it's so relaxing to drive. You sort of forget you're driving almost. It's weird. I was just talking to you there, and I was sort of, banging through these big puddles. It's very wet today. It's been raining constantly for about 24 hours. There's a real danger of aquaplaning, but this thing just sort of parts the water like Moses, really. It just goes woof through them. That Mercedes there slowed down, got a bit scared with that big puddle. In this thing, no, not at all. And your visibility is spectacular, really. You can just, you're so high up. You've got such big windows all around. You can see everything. It's just great. They're really nice. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin. I think that's partly because I charged it a bit last night, so I've got some electric on it. The Volvo XC90 used to do that a little bit. But yeah, I'm just bashing along here. The children really liked it this morning. That was a good sign. What else to say? It's a lovely big Range Rover. Is it worth getting out of your financial comfort zone to buy one? Well, that's another question, isn't it? I mean, 100,000. What could you get? You could get a brand new 911 for that, couldn't you? But you wouldn't want to take your brand new 911 down the road like this. Bang. That pothole causes me problems in my Tesla all the time. Straight through it, over it. So it crushes potholes. I think that's what this car does. It just crushes roads. Not just little country lanes like this, but motorways, just everywhere. It's a go anywhere car. People do tend to get out of the way of it as well. In terms of image, I mean, what have you got? You've got this sort of money. I suppose you could go G-Wagon, could you? Different sort of image. Spend a lot more money, you could go up to sort of a Lamborghini Urus, I suppose. But that wouldn't be able to go through these roads like this can. And those are sporting SUVs. You don't need that on these roads. Whenever I think about Range Rovers, I think about Jeremy Clarkson. I'm not sure, he might have done for Range Rover what he's done for Levi jeans. Made them deeply uncool, I don't know. Sorry, Jeremy. But there's no getting away from what a great car it is. Amazing. The fact that Harry from Harry's Garage also has one, matching one to Jeremy's, I think, in green, probably says it all, doesn't it? Mind you, they both got not the last model, the model before that. That's the one that they drive around. So, anyway, a worthy successor at least, if not, a nailed-on classic yet. But I think when it comes to chucking in my Tesla, when I can finally get rid of it. Not that I dislike the Tesla, but I do like to change my cars a little bit sooner than the lease period allows. But this would suit my lifestyle very well. The dogs in the back, children in the back, bang around these country lanes. And every time you got in it, as I said, you feel like you turn left. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Ross on Cars. If you did, press like down below and also subscribe, because I've got some very interesting cars coming up, particularly if you're interested in 4x4s. I've got some rivals to this fella here, if there are some, to have a look at. So it'd be great to see you on the channel, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Go on then.